the impact of new U.S. tariffs on global trade dynamics. The global economy is shifting once again, and this time it's not just about inflation or interest rates. It's about power, economic power. The new U.S. tariffs have drawn battle lines across the world trade map, forcing every nation, from Beijing to Brussels, to rethink its next move. A new chapter in trade tensions. When the United States announces new tariffs, the ripple effects are felt far beyond Washington. These tariffs are not just about protecting American industries. They are strategic tools that redefine global alliances, supply chains, and pricing structures. The latest round of U.S. tariffs, particularly those targeting China, marks a return to aggressive trade policy, one that echoes the Trump-era strategy, but with sharper precision and political calculation. The China equation. China remains the central player in this unfolding story. The U.S. argues that tariffs are a necessary response to unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and industrial overcapacity. But behind the rhetoric lies a deeper agenda: economic containment. Washington wants to slow down China's technological rise while pushing allies to de-risk from Beijing. In response, China is strengthening its trade links with the Global South, the Middle East, and the BRICS bloc, building an alternative network of economic influence that could challenge Western dominance. Global supply chains under pressure. Every tariff reshapes the global supply chain. Manufacturers are now shifting operations to Vietnam, India, and Mexico to avoid U.S.-China trade friction. This diversification is transforming Asia into a multi-nodal trade hub, where smaller economies are benefiting from the world's two largest economies clashing. However, this transition comes with costs: rising logistics prices, disrupted sourcing, and inflationary pressures that ripple across industries from electronics to automotive and agriculture. Winners and losers. In every trade war, there are both victims and victors. Winners. Nations like India, Vietnam, and Indonesia that attract manufacturing investments escaping China. Losers. Consumers worldwide who face higher prices and slower economic growth due to tariff-induced inefficiencies. Even within the U.S., many import-dependent industries are feeling the heat. Companies are forced to redesign their supply strategies, often paying more for components once cheaply sourced from China. The bigger picture: power, not policy. At its core, these tariffs are not just economic tools. They are weapons of geopolitical influence. Trade policy is now part of global strategy, shaping alliances and rivalries in the new economic world order. Whether this approach will strengthen the U.S. economy or accelerate the rise of alternative trade blocs remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the era of free trade is over. We are now entering the age of strategic trade, where every tariff tells a story of ambition, control, and survival. Conclusion. The new U.S. tariffs are not isolated policies. They are signals of a deeper transformation in how the world trades, competes, and collaborates. As nations adjust their positions, one truth stands out: global trade is no longer about efficiency. It's about power.